Now, Mia, let's just go back in time when we first met. You complained to Qantas that there weren't enough women on Talking Business, and as a consequence, we instantly invited you on. Is that the way we first met?
It was. We were much younger then, and that was a class act, because I complained. I was a frequent flyer on Qantas, and I was like, I listen to Talking Business and it's always men, and where are the women? And you're like, will you come on? And I was like, oh, okay, I just wanted to complain, but now here I am. So that was probably when I was at Cosmos, so, 20 odd years ago.
Yeah. What was it because of the obvious ignorance of women in so many aspects of business, and even the media in those days, that inspired you to start your own business and Mama Mia?
I think so. I mean, in the early days, I remember speaking to a male executive and trying to explain the idea of a website for women. And he was really confused. And then he finally said, oh, women, that's an interesting niche. And it was like, dude, 52% of the population, it's a pretty big niche, and 85% of household purchasing decisions. But I think that, in 2007, when I started Mama Mia, as a blog in my lounge room, essentially, but wanting it to grow to something much bigger, there just wasn't that understanding of what a powerful economic force women were.
Did you see the internet as the main bridge over which you would travel to bring that audience to you?
Yeah, I did. That's a really good way of putting it. I'd grown up working in women's media. I'd started in women's magazines because that was the only women's media there was until the early 2000s. I started with Lisa Wilkinson at Clio, and then I ended up editing Cosmo. And but I could really sense in those early 2000s, and I kept trying to alert my bosses in print, Armageddon's coming. Women are moving online. It's catering to their needs and the speed of communication and that back and forth and the two-way street, the ability to share and amplify content. And they sort of poo-pooed me and didn't listen. If I was moving online, I thought lots of other women would be too.
I've always thought, and I've never asked you this question, but I always thought that this was a time when you were at home more, because you had younger children, and you were used to being out in the exciting world of the media as it was then. Was this a way for you to remain relevant and on the cutting edge of things that you were interested in?
It was actually the opposite. I was very much in the full-time workforce when my kids were little. I had an extra one after I started Mama Mia, but that was kind of accidental and
it happens.
But it happens. But my kids, by the time I started Mama Mia, certainly my eldest was very much at school. But a lot of women were experiencing Mama Mia like a lifeline when they were on maternity leave, because they suddenly felt socially isolated. They were cut off. This was before social media.
So it wasn't necessarily you, but the people you
wasn't
were writing
me,
felt
but
like
yes,
that.
and they felt like that. And for me as well, like as someone who was working from home and after working in an office environment my whole life, it was socially isolating. So creating that community was hugely seductive. And now, of course, people can do that through social media, through podcasts.
One of the challenges for my website is getting women more and more interested in business and finance. What's the interest of males in Mama Mia?
Yeah, well, besides, I think most men have women in their lives that they love and want to better understand.
Yeah, good idea.
So there's that. But, an initiative that I started recently, just again out of gut instinct, that we're in the process of turning into a business model, is something called Lady Startup, which is identifying that 1.2 million women in Australia are self-employed, whether they're contractors, freelancers, have a retail store, then probably twice that many again have like a side hustle or a dream of working for themselves one day. This is the new economy. The female-driven economy is the new economy. So I think for men, understanding that, because men have a place in that as well, as consumers, as workers, as all those different kinds of things.
Do you think men who really want to understand their partners, their wives, their girlfriends should read Mama Mia on a regular basis?
I do, Schlitz, I do. I mean, I'm sure you used to read Dolly Doctor back when you were a young tucker. And well, how much did you learn from that? So it's a similar thing, you learn a lot from your older sister's copies of Dolly Doctor. And now the smart money for men is consuming Mama Mia. A lot of men listen to our podcasts because they're forced to by partners who they're in the car with.
Well, a lot of wives say that they're forced to watch my business program, but they do say they like it. I guess some men love yours as well.
There's no forcing involved, not in our house.
One last thing, Mama Mia. Have you ever had any challenges from ABBA for using Mama Mia, or the people who had the play? Or
yes, we have a very good relationship with the ABBA people. Big ABBA fan, obviously. And it is an Italian word. I
Yeah.
do speak Italian.
Leah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
Fran. It's
Switz.
great
Where's my
catching up.
coffee? So much for coffee with
Yeah,
Switz.
well, there's a coffee there.
Oh, here's my coffee. Oh, it even says that.